Underhells Campaign, Game 6, Escher Maelstrain Incarnata vs. Van Saar Blind Vascular Justice. Mission: Great Rig Robbery. Back-to-back game for Van Saar, this time facing their old nemesis from the previous campaign, the Escher Gang. We are back on the Rolling Road scenario with a mission to loot one of the abyssal ferryman rigs traveling without an escort through the wastes. Successful loot requires an intelligence check. Game lasts a random number of turns. Chance of escort appearing, making the scenario end at the end of that turn, is increased turn by turn. High-speed pursuit means that all vehicles, including the Great Rig, are not moved back towards the trailing edge if they are facing the leading edge. This might result in collisions with the models in front of them. Malstrain spawn points are on the road, ready to ambush the interlopers. Season of Flame effect means that fighters treat move action as basic instead of simple, making it much more difficult to keep up with the neck-breaking pace of the target. Moreover, high dunes make it very dangerous to shoot high-powered weapons or move fast, risking a potential ignition of gas pockets covering battlefield surface and explosion on the triggering model. Van Saar are fresh after winning the previous game, but their Gravgun champion has been captured by Goliaths. They will have a couple of additional gang tactic cards to make up for the crew cost difference, as well as additional 3 Hive Scums recruited for free from the terrain. They geared some of their lower gang members with additional lasguns from the trading post. In addition, for the Ash Wastes mission, their custom rig also is available. It is not packing a lot of firepower, but is full of utility upgrades like high-tech anti-grave drive and a large transport cage to house a lot of fighters safely inside. Escher's, despite being Malstrain aligned, rolled very high on the trading post and were able to buy some equipment, most noticeably a hot shot pack for their sister and mesh armor on several fighters. Low crew size meant that a couple of fighters had to sit out this game, and Escher's decided to include a Nana with a hot shot lasgun and brood scum on a dirt bike to complete their standard setup of leader, champions, specialist, and a brute. Vans are deployed very centric, in front of the always moving target rig. Most fighters started inside the repurposed Imperial Landspeeder, hoping to jumpstart their deployment by moving their transport first. Few scums were prepared to move around and ready to ambush incoming rig and enemy fighters in the next few turns. The Ashes in My Blood tactic card allows Captain Fifi and the vehicle to ignore the battlefield surface effects. Escher decided to deploy in a wider arc. Specialists Auroria and Champion Nico deployed near the bunker. Both equipped with grenade launchers, one handheld, second attached to the cutter, were ready to serve the role of mobile artillery with their frags. Thanks to survival gear prepared before the fight, Gene Stealer, Death Maiden, and the leader will be able to move twice in turn, ignoring the soaring temperatures of the dunes. They will just have to be careful to end their activation on a terrain or a road, to avoid potential explosions. On the left flank, Anana will try to reach the staircase of the bunker and provide support fire, while Anzu will move forward with a primed blasting charge. Both gangs spent first turn moving closer to the road itself, with no possibility of shots because of the visibility 18 inches. Fighters from Van Saar gang tried to use the safety of the staircase to come into range of their weapons. After the transport vehicle moved forward, all the embarked fighters deployed, spreading around, using the abandoned Prometheum tank as a cover. Thanks to Abyssal Ferryman team and additional scums, they could wait for all the enemies to use their activation. Only then their most dangerous fighter, leader or aspirer Steve Zero, advanced forward. Judging that he is too far away to use his bolt launchers, he just moved forward to the edge of the road, ready to take cover behind the oncoming Great Rig. Escher were a bit more risky in their positioning. Fighters in the back just tried to reach the safety of the bunker, while fighters with respirators sprinted forward ready to pounce on the rig coming their way. The Death Maiden and the Gene Stealer used both moves to jump on the Prometheum tank terrain near the road, while the Queen used her both moves to jump over it and land on the road, ready to hopefully loot the target in the next turn. At the end of the turn, Escher got an unexpected help. One of their Escher males, who managed to reach adulthood in a Malstrain-infected clone vat, decided to show up for the fight. Only that he got lost on the way. A failed roll for reinforcement means that the opponent can deploy him somewhere on the map. He appeared near the trailing edge, never to see any battle for the whole game, and after 2 turns he couldn't keep up with the moving battlefield and bled out. That was not the only brood scum that appeared. One, representing the Malstrain horror side, also showed up at the backside of the map. At least being equipped with the autogun, he might come into range and add to some of the incoming chaos. The opening shot of the second turn was one of the most spectacular frag grenade shots we have ever witnessed. Nico used her cutter to fly on the road and aimed at the group of clumped fighters. She hit a couple of targets, only dealing one serious injury on Don IMO Elsa. But the resulting panic in Van Saar ranks was tremendous. Two Van Saar, Otis and Crapai, as well as ferryman Bruno, turned around and started fleeing, with two of them rolling close to 10-inch for their distance. This really helped with balancing the activation counts, with all three of them losing their ready markers in the process. Van Saar tried to regroup and help to balance the odds. Zatoichi advanced on top of the bunker and tried to shoot down Nico, but she held firm to her cutter and no damage was done. Utaha, already in a good position, tried to loot the rig, unsuccessfully, and shot with her twin-linked plasma guns, hitting but not scoring any damage on Van Saar sniper. Steve, sensing an approaching Death Maiden, decided to move closer to the rig and successfully looted it. She could one-tap him with the deadly toxin of a needle pistol. Instead, she also came into contact with the target vehicle and tried to loot it, unsuccessfully. The same happened with Gene Stealer Zastor. Failure here was not surprising, however, since he only has 10+ intelligence stat. That activation served a much more important goal, shielding his queen from the potential Horus charge. And Steve did not hesitate. He charged, trying to put to use his paired power fists, which obliterated Goliath Stimmer in the last game. From 6 attacks, 4 hits were scored. But the wound rolls were atrocious. Not even a single attack came through mutated sinews and bones of the Malstrain. A combination of toxin bites and claws in retaliation scored 1 wound and 1 flesh wound. In the next turn, Steve had one more chance to take down powerful Malstrain monstrosity when Van Saar won the priority. Without the bonus attacks from charging and paired weapons, the result was the same. Zastor was still standing on full 3 wounds. His reaction attacks dealt 1 more damage to Steve. The combat was finally resolved by Utaha, who activated next, charged and finished off the Spira with her stiletto sword. Despite taking down the enemy leader, Escher was still losing the game, because they hadn't looted the Great Rig even once. Death Maiden Kiji survived the charge of a Tyramite, who appeared next to her, and killed it in retaliation. The rest of the Maelstrain Incarnata gang continued to maneuver around to reach the Van Saar line. Desperate shots from the sniper and fighters that were not retreating tried to slow them down. Zastor managed to dodge attacks and stayed standing, thanks to nerves of steel, and reached one of the ferryman ratlings, killing him. Shortly after that, he also munched on one of the scums working for Van Saar in this mission, scoring Escher Gang's subplot for 3 kills by a single fighter with a melee weapon. Van Saar attempted to keep the oncoming wave of Escher out of the range of the Great Rig. One of their scum succeeded in taking out an enemy biker, before retreating back behind the cover. Champion Nico on the cutter gave chase after him, but was ambushed by new Malstrain horrors spawning right next to her. Brood Scum Leader was equipped with a last gun, while the regular one had a mighty bolt gun. Salvo of shots made her crash on the road under her cutter, lose a wound, but she survived. The other initiative checks by Escher were going pretty good, however, escaping from getting crushed by the speeding Great Rig. Finally, they also got some cargo points, with Kiji and Nico succeeding in their intelligence tests, and even Saroria jumping down from the bunker to chase after it. After Nico was injured, however, everyone changed the focus to take out or at least tie and combat the horrors while the Great Rig ran them over. Meanwhile, Van Saars were still scrambling to rally their forces. After a few unsuccessful attempts, Elsa and Crapai finally passed their nerve check and turned back to return to the fight. The only problem was that they were pushed far back into their deployment zone, with no hope in reaching the target vehicle. To regain their lead in looted cargo, they not only would have to go through rampaging Zastor, but also additional Malstrains appeared on their flanks. Otis, after helping with rallying some of the retreating fighters, managed to score a wound on the Gene Stealer, but he just would not die. With no possibility of winning anymore, Van Saar decided to bottle and retreat. Victory for Maelstrain Incarnata. Escher gained only 40 credits from their territories, but at least managed to get a decent amount of reputation thanks to completing the subplot. Decent trading post roll could allow them to spend saved money from the previous game. Nico was awarded MVP title, setting up the whole match with a single frag grenade shot, although rampaging Zastor was also a likely candidate. Van Saar also managed to score additional reputation from a subplot and rolled higher than Escher, getting 80 credits. Steve Zero was chosen as the least valuable player on their team. Not only did he fail his attacks in 2 rounds of combat, even when charging, he also rolled a seized locomotors for his lasting injury, reducing his movement by 1 inch until he can clear his glitches in the downtime or from kill count Spyro ability. Game was heavily influenced by the Season of Flame effect, making it very hard for gangers to chase and get in range of the Great Rig to gain cargo points. 3 fighters running away to the edge of the board from failed nerve tests didn't help either. All in all, it was a quick and fun game. The next game we will have Enforcers from Slagtown Rangers gang facing off against Enigmatic Deluxe from Will of the Old One Incursion Party in an Ash Wastes mission settlement showdown. See you next time.